This exercise is called knee stirs, like stirring batter or pizza dough. What you want to do is bring your knees up one at a time so that your femur is in a straight up and down alignment, and the head of the femur can rest in its perfect place inside the hip socket. And what you're going to do is place the palms of your hands over your knees, and you're going to keep your arms straight. And think about circling your shoulder blades around on your back. You have to distract your mind from what you're actually doing here. So think about keeping your arms straight, moving your scapula around on your back, switch directions. You can do both in the same way, but the pelvis tends to rock that way. If you want to mix it up, I think you're better off doing a figure eight. Trying to do a figure eight and then doing the other direction should trick your brain to getting out of the way. But basically, I mean, you can even just do like a little scissor. Basically, you just want gravity to help the head of the femurs get where they need to be in their socket. And then you want to strengthen around that. So the hanging rotations are good too, but that adds space. So sometimes tractioning is what is needed, and that will do that. And this will encourage nesting. And then over top of the two of those, you want to be sure that you have strengthening. So the deep six of the rotator cuff of the hip, what we do with the G2 Max or any of the makeshift versions of that is definitely what is needed to keep the femur nested in its proper place in the socket. And when it is nested in the proper place in its socket, you have a lot more freedom and a lot less pain. Next exercise. So for this one, you're lying on your back comfortably. If it bothers your back, you can start with your knees in a chair and go from there. But on an exhale, the knee comes into the armpit. While this knee comes into the armpit, I want you to think about reaching through your heel on the other leg. Inhale, let the leg float down, and exhale. I like to switch on this one. So now this heel is reaching through. And again, like the previous exercise, and again, this exercise is a little bit of a trick because basically what's happening as you reach through your heel of the down leg, you're activating the entire posterior chain and thereby releasing the hip flexors. The other thing that's happening is if you have a tendency through a set of these to wind up with this hip hiked and this hip hiked, it just takes that right out of it each repetition, because each repetition you're reaching basically through the sit bones, you're reaching your sit bones that way, which is going to keep the length here. So as that heel is reaching, the posterior chain going all the way up to the sit bone and beyond, it's keeping that sit bone pulled that way. And then when this one goes down, see now this one is coming up with lengthened tissues in the front. So it should be fresh for its movement. And now this one, I'm thinking about reaching and so on. If you were doing a similar movement for digestion, you would be bringing the knee into the chest and taking your nose to your knee. So that's going to have some compression in here, and the compression is sort of hugging the organs, which is why in yoga it's called the wind relieving pose. So it's Great for addressing menstrual cramps, should that be an issue. Great for the organs, but a little bit compressive to the muscles. So that's why in AIS we're reaching the leg out to the side. And in my little trick version of it, if you reach through the heel to activate the posterior chain, you get a cleaner opening here.